friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Trina, and in today's video, it is going to be my wrap-up for all of the books that I've read for the month of October. And it was actually a good reading month, if I'm perfectly honest. It was kind of chaotic, like the whole month was chaotic, but I was able to get some reading done, and some of the reading goals that I have set out for myself in the beginning of the year, like secret projects and such, I did manage to finish one of them, so it was a success in my books. So let's going to dive into my reading journal, and then I will slowly tell you about all of the books that I've read for this month. So for the month of October, I am going to skip past the TBR and the books that I actually read list at the beginning here and just jump right into the pages. So for the month of October, I did make a TBR video of picking out 8 books, and some of the books I did manage to read them, and somehow I did not read those. So I will explain as I go along with this video, but I wanted most, if not all, of my books for the month of October to be sort of either on the spooky side or on the fantasy side. So I picked out a few books that I wanted to read this month, and we shall begin with the first one, which was an audiobook, a very quick audiobook, a classic horror, The Haunting of Hill House. I have been wanting to at least listen to the audiobook of this story, because I have heard from one of the comments, I've read one of the comments saying that this book was inspired by the Winchester House, which is an actual house that is said to be haunted by the spirits of the dead people that have been killed using the firearms that were developed by the Winchester family. And that is one of the spooky things that I was super interested in, so I decided to listen to the audiobook of this one. Sadly, I gave it a 2 stars because, for one, it's just, to me at least, it's just another haunted house. And I'm not sure if you could hear, they are testing audio outside. Are they going to start doing a festival of some sort? It's November, it's the 1st of November as of filming this, so I am wondering if they're going to have a program outside, if you could hear it. So if this video survives and you see it, then it can't be heard in the background. So the second book that I have read for the month of October is the continuation to The Trials of Apollo. It's book 2, The Dark Prophecy. I do have my book here on the side. This I actually had a hard time picking back up. As you can see, I started it in July and then finished it in October. So it took me a while to get into the mood of reading these again. However, I do have another book in the Rick Riordan universe that I wanted to read, and I cannot read them because the book has spoilers to the ending of The Trials of Apollo. So I really need to finish all 5 books of the Trials before I can get to this book that I wanted to read. So for this case, The Trials of Apollo is basically the god Apollo was punished by god Zeus, who turned Apollo into a human, and he has to do all sorts of tasks in order to reclaim his godhood. And this is one of the trials. The whole story, I guess, revolves around Roman Roman emperors. So it's pretty much interesting. Roman Empire and the structure of it, the history of all of those, I am fairly interested in. However, it's just so hard for me to pick this book back up. So I gave it a 3 stars just because of that. The next one we have here is another physical book of mine, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Sadly, I gave this a 2.5 stars. I think I have included this book in one of my reading vlogs, and to me, it was a doozy of a classic. The beginning of it was kind of boring, down to the middle of this monster, Frankenstein's monster, the amalgamation of different body parts turned into a living being, started talking about, almost gossiping about this family of cottagers and how they live their life and all of the gossip when it comes to this family. And it was kind of if you don't think that this is a horror book, it would have been entertaining, because it shows that psychology study wherein every human is a blank slate, and we are affected by our environment and what we see out in the environment. That is what makes us who we are behavior-wise. And we see Frankenstein's monster learning about life basically through observing this particular family for a whole year, I guess. And it was kind of boring, actually. The pacing was so bad, at least in my opinion, but it's an okay classic, I guess. The next one here is one of my favorites. I love V.E. Schwab. I guess V.E. Schwab is now in contender with Rick Riordan. Rick Riordan books I fairly enjoy, but I guess it's more of like middle grade, younger me. I have nostalgia for the books and for the author. That's why I still love it up until now. But me as an adult, my favorite, if people will ask me, who is your favorite author? My number one answer would probably be V.E. Schwab. This is This Savage Song, which is a duology of this city wherein there exists two factions. The faction wherein, well, the city is like teeming with monsters, and because of a horrific catastrophe that happened, these monsters exist, and I will not tell you where the monsters come from. It's part of the story, but the gist of it is that one faction believes that they have to eradicate all monsters, and the other faction believes that monsters can be used as like to keep the peace, I guess, but you have to pay the head of this faction in order to be protected from the monsters, basically. To me, during that reading vlog, I did mention that this reminds me a little bit of Tap Up Destiny, the anime, because it is music related, and also a little bit of Heavenly Delusion because of like the civil wars that happen within the small city, and they don't know what else is outside the city, basically. So this first book, I believe, only revolves around the city of Verity, and then maybe the second book is going out of that city, and I'm pretty much excited for this. The beginning of it, the building of like the scenarios and the world, kind of a bit slow. However, once I ended up continuing with it, it kept me up at night. Like, I was so excited to turn the next page that I had to finish it before I sleep. So this one was a good book, and I highly recommend it. The next one, you can see here that is an incomplete page because I have not finished The Will of the Many. Now, The Will of the Many by James Islington is probably, we could say, one of the best books of 2024. It is Roman-inspired as well, kind of like a pyramid scheme situation when it comes to their powers and magic system. It is about a main character who is of royalty or royal blood, and then they have been conquered by this hierarchy wherein everyone has to follow their rule sets and like giving up a part of them in order to be part of the system, and the main character is like wanting revenge against the system, sort of like Pierce Brown's Red Rising, but this is more of like the guy is of royal lineage rather than someone from the slums. Quite interesting. And I started reading this on my birthday actually, and it was like one of the best reads that I have started. But I'm kind of savoring it. I am wanting to finish this before the year ends, of course, but I am slowly going through the chapters because I want to savor this book. So I'm like on and off when I'm reading this, but I'm fairly enjoying it. The next one, next couple of pages are actually part of my 24-hour reading vlog of reading Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights books, and it was so long that it already bled into my November pages. But this was like a very fun but also very stressful experience. So Five Nights at Freddy's, if you don't know, is an indie game by Scott Cawthon, and this spooky animatronic survival game has its own books, and these are like the short stories that kind of explain some of the lore and the mechanics of the stuff that happened in the game, and they have fairly similar themes to like bad adults, sibling arguments, and like very unfortunate things happening to people when they're bad. And a lot of stories here are very much, what do you call that? Like, they're the same almost in themes. There's always a scary animatronic that relates to each of the story, and I had fun. But it's just that if you binge read all of these, I only got through 8. There are actually 12 books in the series. I only gone through 8 in the 24 hours that I've read this, and I just need a palate cleanser because this is like super stressful. And you can watch that whole 24-hour reading vlog if you're interested. But my favorite ones happen to be these 3 because they are like the most lore related when it comes to the Five Nights at Freddy's series. And then the next one I have here is A Court of Wings and Ruin, the 3rd book in the ACOTAR series. Now, the 1st and 2nd book of ACOTAR I did not really care for. I have been interested in reading this because I was super curious of why it is famous and why is it super hype. My friend and I, like 3 of us actually in our group chat, one of us already read ACOTAR and the 2nd book. She has not read the 3rd book yet. she didn't have time, I guess. But I, for one, do not care for the spice. I want the story. I want the war. I want the growth of the characters. That is why I rated the second book super low, because it's annoying for me, at least. If you love that second book, I know that a lot of people love the second book. I might be just an unpopular opinion. However, the third book, 5 stars. It was wonderful. I love how all of the characters, not only the main cast, grew in this book, and like how they open up to each other, understand one another, try to help each other when it comes to this war effort, and all of the courts coming together. It was good. It was that good. So I gave this 5 stars, and I'm actually began listening to the fourth one, or the 3.5 if you're being technical with it, Court of Frost and Starlight. I heard that, I guess this is the last book in the Feyre Rhysand story, and then this is just an additional one after the war, maybe, and then the last one is maybe of Cassian. I love Cassian, actually. Cassian is one of my favorites. For favorite characters, I guess it's Cassian and Mor. Like my top favorite characters in the whole ACOTAR series. Of course, we have our favorites, Rhysand, of course, but to me, it's Cassian and Mor for some reason. And then, enough of that. We have our last book that I have listened to, actually, on audio, Misery by Stephen King. This is the last book that I have listened to for the month of October. I wanted something spooky, scary. However, I did not put my rating. I guess I rated this as a 3-star. Yeah, I rated this as a 3-star. This is my second Stephen King book. The first one that I've read from him was Hearts in Atlantis, which is not a horror book. I read that when I was in elementary school, I guess, and my uncle, who was a super Stephen King fan, who has most of his books, actually recommended Hearts of Atlantis because I'm still too young to read horror. And he is like super Stephen King, Anne Rice, all of the horror stuff, and he doesn't want me to borrow any of Stephen King's horror books, because there is not only is it scary, but also there are like languages when it comes to Stephen King's writings that can be scarring for a child, if I'm being honest. However, Misery here is a story about an author in this book who wrote the books of like Misery as his main female character, and he got into an accident, and the one that saved him from that accident was actually like a retired nurse who happens to be his #1 fan, as she claims. And instead of taking him to the hospital, he decided to care for him herself in her house. And then she read that the last Misery book, Misery died, and she did not want that to happen. And she was like, "You have to write me another book wherein Misery lives. I won't release you from this prison if you don't finish that book for me." And that's what he did, and all of the crazy stuff that happened during his captivity. And it was fun. It was fine, I guess, not fun. It was fine. I guess I wanted a gothic horror story, like medical horror story, but this is kind of slow. Like, I feel like I was in a roller coaster while I was reading this, like a very small roller coaster of just ups and downs. And I'm not going to lie, I did feel like I dozed off in like some of the middle parts. Only in the most dramatic parts did I tune into the audiobook. The rest I just dozed off. So those are like the 14 books. Actually, I finished 14 books for the month of October, but I did happen to finish one whole manga, completed manga. So it's 14 volumes of Dungeon Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon, which is my favorite manga as of the moment. I really love Hell's Paradise from a couple of months ago, but this takes the cake. I even started playing an idle game that has the collab for Dungeon Meshi just because I want all of the 4 characters in the party. And I have made it to the point wherein I only started like 2 days ago in this game, and I'm already 5-star my Marcel. So that's how obsessed I am with it. So I do have here the tally of all of my October reads. 14 of them. I have the hours for the audiobook, and then the page numbers for if I read it physically or digitally. And I did happen to listen to the audiobooks on some of the stories in the Fazbear Frights, but I counted it as page numbers instead, because I am having a headache to calculate how many of them I have read digitally and how much of the story or the book did I listen audio form. So like, forget it. I'm just going to do the page count instead and save myself the headache. As for my TBR here to the side, we know that Will of the Many I have not finished yet. Haunting on Hill House I have read. my Q4 TBR, one of the Q4 TBR picks, Frankenstein, I have read. This is the one that I could not read. It is supposed to be the book that I really, really wanted to read for my birthday, which is The Sun and the Star. This is the only book that I have bought for the month of October for my birthday. It is a Nico D'Angelo book with Will Solis, and I am at page 8 when I realized that there is actually a part of the story here that is a spoiler to the ending of the Trials of Apollo. So in timeline-wise, this is at the end of the Trials of Apollo series. So I can't read it because I don't want to be spoiled. And so this is going to take a backseat for now, even though I really, really wanted it. I bought this for myself for my birthday, and I really wanted to read it. I had it all prepared, even the tabs here I have prepared for it. So I can't read that for now. Third book, Avalon, I have not touched this. I think I've read like a chapter and then I was done. I couldn't really do it. Continuing a series, the Trials of Apollo, shirt color, which was white when I filmed the October TBR. I'm also still wearing white today. But The Savage Song by V. Schwab, I did read. Book with a body or body part on the cover, The Body Scout by Lincoln Mitchell, I did not even touch because I did the 24-hour reading vlog timer style of the FNAF books. And then I jumped into ACOTAR, or like the part of Wings and Ruin immediately. So that is the wrap up for my October TBR. I have like all of the stats here at the back. I'm kind of sad that I made a mistake here. I accidentally included the page count for the manga, which I shouldn't include in here because I have a separate manga journal. So I have to look for my whiteout in order to white that out and have to color in the green again. But yeah, 14 books, 3,147 pages read, 45 hours and 57 minutes of audiobook hours, 2 physical, 6 audiobooks, 6 ebooks. 11 of them are parts of the series, and I have 2 5 stars for the month of October, which to me is quite successful. And that is it for the wrap up, and that is it for this video. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm super excited for my list for the month of October. If you haven't seen my video for my November TBR, yep, it was fun. I filmed the TBR with my best friend, and it was chaos. The ending, or like the result of that, is utter chaos. That's why I'm super excited but also super scared of my November TBR. But hopefully I am able to get through them. And that is it. Thank you so much again, and I will see you in the next video. So until then, guys, take care and bye.